You imagine, don't you, that you are moving through time as a traveler moves along a road past behind you, future ahead of you, and this curious, vanishing thing called now flickering beneath your feet, and you feel, perhaps subtly, perhaps painfully, that you are running out of it, that the clock is ticking away something precious, something limited, something that can be lost. But let us pause here, just for a moment, and ask a very strange question. Where is this thing called time? You never encounter it directly. You never trip over it in the street. You never open a drawer and find a few extra minutes inside. What you encounter are experiences, sounds, colors, thoughts, sensations arising, shimmering, disappearing, and you label their sequence time just as you might label the spaces between trees, a forest. You see, time is not something you are in, like a container. It is something you are doing. Just as you don't hear sound apart from vibrations, and you don't see light apart from colors, you don't experience time apart from the movements of your own mind. Memory reaching backward, anticipation reaching forward. And right here, in between them, this dancing, elusive, present momental ways arriving, always gone. Now consider this. When you are deeply absorbed listening to music, watching waves break on the shore, laughing uncontrollably with a friend, where does time go? It doesn't slow down or speed up. It vanishes, or rather, the idea of it vanishes. There is only happening. And when you are anxious, bored, waiting, resisting, time suddenly becomes heavy, thick, almost cruel. The seconds stretch. The minutes ache. Same clock, same hands, but a completely different universe. So perhaps time is not an external force pressing upon you, but a rhythm within you, like your heartbeat or your breath. We say, I don't have enough time, as if time were a possession, like money in a wallet. But have you ever noticed that the only time you ever actually have is now? Not a sliver of the past is available to you, nor a single fragment of the future. All plans, all regrets, all hopes occur where? Now. And so we invent this, and when you begin to sense that, truly sense, you may find that time loosens its grip. Not because you've escaped it, but because you've discovered where it was all along. And this discovery, you see, is not something dramatic, not a thunderclap of revelation that splits the sky. It is extraordinarily ordinary, so ordinary that the mind, always hunting for fireworks, overlooks it entirely. For when you look closely, you begin to notice that what you call the present has no thickness. Try to grasp it. The moment you say now, it has already slipped into memory. And yet, without this vanishing point, there could be no experience at all. It is the razor's edge upon which the whole universe balances. Now, this is very unsettling for the ego, because the ego likes to imagine itself as a solid thing, persisting through time, enduring from past to future, like a little capsule of identity. I was born then, it says. I will die later. And in between, it tries desperately to manage the interval, to make it meaningful, productive, worthwhile. But the ego is like a whirlpool in a river. It looks like a thing, but it is really a pattern of movement. You cannot take it out of the stream and put it in a bucket. And in the same way, you cannot step outside time to secure yourself against change. So the ego invents stories. I am behind schedule. I am wasting my life. I don't have time to be myself. Absurd phrases when you listen to them carefully. For who is the I that could ever be anywhere other than here? And when would you ever be alive except now? You see, the fear of time passing is really the fear of it is the refusal to accept that life is an event, not a possession. We want guarantees. We want permanence. We want the music to hold still so we can admire it. But music that holds still is noise, and life that holds still is death. So the wise response is not to cling, but to participate. To recognize that change is not what threatens life. It is what makes life possible. Just as a wave is not something separate from the ocean, you are not something trapped in time. You are time waving. Now notice something curious. When you stop fighting this wind, you stop trying to pin the present down or escape the future you don't become passive. quite the opposite. Action becomes fluid, appropriate, spontaneous. You stop asking, is this the right use of my time? And instead feel, this is what is happening now. And from that clarity, responses arise naturally, like a dancer moving with the music rather than counting the beats. This is why anxiety always lives in the future and guilt always lives in the past. They are both forms of refusing the present. Anxiety says, what if? Guilt says, if only, but reality says, here. And here is always enough. Not because it is perfect. Depth is not measured in years. Some people live a century and never arrive. Others live briefly and touch eternity, because eternity is not endless time. Eternity is timelessness. It is now, seen clearly, without resistance. And this is where our fear of death enters the picture. We imagine death as the ultimate loss of time. The clock stopping, the lights going out. And so we cling to life, trying to stretch it, hoard it, preserve it. But death is not the opposite of life. It is the opposite of birth. Life has no opposite. Life is the ongoing process that includes beginnings and endings, like waves rising and falling. And you do not mourn the end of a wave, because you know it was never separate from the ocean. When you truly understand that time is in you, not the other way around, death loses its sting. Not because it disappears, but because it is seen as part of the rhythm, a rest in the music, a pause that gives shape to the sound. And so, strangely enough, accepting death fully is what allows you to live fully. When you stop measuring life by its duration, you start savoring it by its presence. Now notice what happens to your sense of self in all this. The rigid boundary between me and the world softens. You realize that what you call outside is simply what you are not focusing on. The ticking clock, the passing clouds, the aging of your body, all of it is happening with you, not to you. You are not a victim of time. You are its pulse. And when this is seen deeply, quietly, without forcing it into words, a great compassion arises. For yourself, for others. You stop judging your life as late or early, successful or failed. You see that everyone is moving to their own rhythm, like instruments in a vast orchestra. Some play long notes, some play brief ones. Some enter early, some late. But the music is whole. And then, perhaps without noticing when it happened, you find yourself resting, not asleep, awake. Resting in the sense that you are no longer trying to outrun the present or trap it. You are simply here, and here, you discover, is not a point in time at all. It is the place where time arises. So I invite Yuki Whitley